Boom.
Boom.
Boom is right. We are live.
Boom. Boom, baby.
We've got
Boom.
a couple different things I put on now. I got to be honest. I'm a huge fan of X, Brian. I told you that. I know in a random call or something. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it.
You a random call, Joe? That never happens.
Come on. Let me give it a second here to make sure it is working across all of them. So
I've spent my life learning to use my filming techniques this way, and Twitter wants you to do it this way, and I, fear change, and that's a big challenge for me.
I'll tell you, I got to be honest. I am impressed with your Facebook presence this year in the book.
Yeah, it's been fun. What book? Oh, you mean this book? Oh, sorry.
Look at it, man.
That book that perhaps you found in your local airport.
You mean this one?
Oh, but there you go. But I got to tell you, my new find. Oh, is Sellers reaching for one? We got one handy? Look at that.
I definitely have one close.
But I got to tell you what I found. Ready for this? This is a big deal. To anybody that's watching this that likes cigars, Padron 60 year. These are unbelievable is what they are. I had a friend send me a case of them. I'm a happy camper.
Bring one with you tomorrow.
I was thinking about that. Then I said no.
What's tomorrow?
Something you're not invited to, Joe.
August.
What are you doing tomorrow, Chris? What are you doing tomorrow?
Just to get together at the lounge, talk some business.
Yeah. Take
All
over.
right.
Standard procedure. There's only one way to ring in a new year, right?
KPIs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Let's not start this year on a bad note with a cigar lounge that's closed. Let's kick it off right.
I'm assuming the lounge is always open or open on New Year's Day?
Well, the one that Brian and I are a part of, we can go 24/7. We're a little bougie like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a private club. It's called the Fat Buddha.
That's the one with the comfy chairs, like poker chairs?
I think you've been there, Joe. I think we played around with the sales model there. In fact,
We did this year. Yeah.
At a cigar lounge, at a poker table, the way that sales models should be built. There's only one way to write sales models and TV commercials, Brian. And it's
hey, Joe, congrats for you doing this, by the way. Your Windshield Live for all the people, you do such a great job. You bring out so many great guests. So
I was worried that you guys weren't going to make it, so I couldn't tell anybody was coming. So hopefully now they'll be like, oh, man, there's actually people other than Joe on this thing that maybe worthwhile could share some information. So, yeah, that's the goal.
Joe,
so let's run.
Well, I'll just interrupt you right now.
Yeah,
but going off what Brian said, I mean, great job with the group this year, man. Freaking great year. Just out of curiosity, in terms of, I guess, members, right? How many did we start the year with? And I mean, where are you at now? And
I was just looking at it the other day. It was under 800 at the beginning of the year. We're at 1760 now.
All right.
Great.
And considering, it's not obviously the big, but it's every person that's in the group is legit. So, I at least have looked at who they are. It's not just a public group that anybody can join. So
right, and they're engaged.
Yeah.
And they share. And that's
I
cool.
looked at that today. I think we're just over 1,400 are steadily engaged.
Yeah,
It said.
Wow.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some awesome information. I went back. I tried to figure out if you could download everything, like all the content, and I can't, unfortunately, just to compile it all. But there's a ton. It's good. Yeah,
there's another book in there if you can.
I was going to say there's probably 3 books in there with all that information.
And then you always I looked at the top contributor, and it's or the people that get the most activity. And of course, Brian wins that award. As I always give him
I get an award. Do I get a plaque? I want a plaque.
Yeah. It's on the way.
I need a trophy.
It's on the way. I bet you do. So speaking of awards, any new awards on the book?
I actually got one today. Seriously, I got notified today. I'll tell you, Forbes reached out to me. Seriously, thank you for asking me that. That's like such a setup question here. But Forbes, it's some business award, some business book award. It's actually really cool. Oh, yeah. Hi, Brian. I'm pleased to share that Beyond the Hammer has been recognized by the Global Book Awards as a gold medalist in business leadership. Congratulations.
Nice. Congratulations.
It's kind of badass.
That's awesome.
I was going to share mine, but
No, you got a great one, right? Best place to work, man. Come on.
yeah, we got that. Yeah.
That is.
And we took best rate for most Google reviews in Phoenix. And we're almost at 400 in our first 18 months in business of reviews.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty proud of that.
Imagine how many you would have had if you could combine the first name with what the business is now called. You'd have at least 800 reviews, I bet. Right, Kyle? Somewhere around there?
For sure. Yeah.
That will never, ever go away.
No.
As long as I know you, Chris.
I know.
Well, I mean, not to be a one-upper, you guys, but right there, best dad.
Hell, that's
legit.
Those are the types of awards that I won this year.
That's good.
So let's dive in if we can.
Yeah. To whatever we do. Let's dive in.
So I wanted to ask you guys a few things because I think it's important before we go looking forward on 2025. What was an aha moment, I'll say, for you in 2024? Like never thought of that way, or just something that completely surprised you. Could be anything, by the way. This can go anywhere. I'll start just by how I have you guys on the screen. Chris, why don't you, if you don't mind? Of course, I didn't prepare you guys for any of this, so if you don't have
the aha moment that I had this year that we're working towards is they ask you answer, and we talk about pivoting in business. And when I went to top 500 and listened to the guy on stage that kind of started owning that, and then I'm part of the Big 12 group, which is a really great group as well. But what's the next thing that you have to get in front of? And it's AI, and AI is looking at video, and video is going to be a big deal. And so I have my green screen over here. Just we're planning for starting to make some of these videos that ask you answer. So it was a big aha. Like we've been through, like this group, we've been through so much, right? Like we've pivoted so many different times. What's next? What's next? What's next? And this is the next thing. And I want to be in front of it before everybody else. That was my aha.
The Marcus is his first name. I can't think of his second name. His last name, sorry, is the gentleman who you're talking about. Happens to be a DMV guy, Virginia. With pools is what he did that with, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. But yeah. Green screen it.
Was it Marcus Carroll?
What?
Marcus Carroll? No, I'll look. You can ask around. I'll get it.
Kyle, if you want to go next, sorry.
Yeah. I've been listening to the response and also thinking about mine. I don't know that I would say an aha moment, I guess, but my biggest lesson of 2024 has been, which, I mean, this would really tie back to your book, Brian. What's the pillar about the echo of the
leaders are aware of the echo of their voice and never forget that pillar.
Yeah. The transition from, employee to self-employed, business ownership and, business, family, like all of it. That's been my biggest lesson, is just how much my attitude, my mental state, my presence, the energy I bring really, really impacts those around me, which impacts my life, so that's my takeaway.
It's good.
That is good.
It's good. It's good.
I was going to laugh.
Especially in my family. Thing. Yeah. I am very actively working to apply more business principles into my, specific business principles into my family life.
Yeah. And if you do it right, you can one day sell them.
As long as I set it up correctly.
was waiting for Brian to be like, I don't know what pillar. I don't. What did I write? What's in the book again? Oh,
AI
man.
did that.
AI did that. Actually, Brian, before we get to that, that was an AI. Whoever tried to like build a workbook off of your book, right?
Yeah.
That was all like an AI.
Oh, yeah, I packed it and threw it away. But yeah, that's right. I did order it though. But yeah, some AI bot created a workbook. It was really bad.
That was yeah. Didn't even spell your name right.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I before E.
Which, by the way, leads me to my 2 aha moments.
Go ahead.
So aha moment number 1 is next time, and if anybody's thinking about writing a book, make a workbook at the same time and release both of them. So this way, some AI thing doesn't try to do that for you, because they will. So you want first and second pole position. So there's your book, there's your workbook. But anyway, but my other thing is that, in fact, Kathy and I Kathy is my wife, if anybody didn't know that's watching this. We were making a list of all the people that used to work for us and now have their own business. And it is a long list. There's like 30 some odd people we came up with that used to work for me and now have their own business and employ a whole bunch of people. And I think what's so freaking cool about that is, you can, if you run a business and if you can really help people create their dream, while they're with you, however long that is, man, they're gonna take such great care of you and your impact then I think gets a whole lot wider. I think it's so freaking cool. Really, really neat to see.
You should look at like who is it? Is it Lombardi? And you see all those guys that have those huge coaching trees.
Yeah.
The guy from San Francisco, Bill Walsh, and all the people that that are all tied back to the original under the tree. It's pretty interesting to see.
What's yours, Joe? What's yours?
So it's kind of as a whole, a couple things, but the main thing is, and it's more of a mistake I made in probably my entire career, but really came to the forefront in my own reading this year, is we talk so much about leadership, whatever you want to do, but leading the entire person. And what I mean by that is, let's just say sales rep, or it could be managers, it could be really anybody, but we'll say sales rep is, instead of just building and developing a better salesperson or sales rep, how do we build and develop better people? Because what ends up happening is, if we don't take on that responsibility and we just teach them how to make a lot of money or how to just, it translates so much into whether it's their home life, their personal life, and we always talk, or Brian, you talk a lot about, and everybody does though, but like having a bigger purpose. And so it's like, okay, well, how do I grow and develop and help them become a better person? And I think a lot, like if you look at a sales rep, a lot of the things that you use to grow and develop a salesperson, assuming you do it, or teaching proper ethics and things like that, those skills translate. So even if the person doesn't, stay a salesperson with you for, like Brian, you say all these people that have started their own companies, they don't stay with you for 30 years. This isn't GE. You don't retire and get a jacket and a watch in 30 years. They can take these skills as an in-home salesperson and they transfer to other careers, but also just to everything else that they do in life, if you think about it. So tying what we do, again, training, growing, developing a sales rep, and just looking at their value of them as a salesperson versus the whole person. And it actually will, I think, benefit, the more I'm looking at it, it actually still benefits probably the employer, the employee of the company, because we all know if things are better at home or outside of work, they're probably going to yield better results with you at work, and they avoid burnout, and they avoid, all the things that are, typically looked at as potentially not a negative, but an adversity of the position.
So what's one way you do that, Joe?
Well, I think it becomes a deeper, when you onboard, it's not so much just getting to know them again from a sales perspective. It's you can almost have like little index cards for all your people where their kids' birth dates, their just everything. But also within that, and that's why I say it's deeper than just the whole person, is realizing that in today's day and age, I can't grow and develop the team. I have to do it individually. If you really want to grow and develop them, I can't just say, okay, one size fits all. This is how we're going to do it. You have to do it individually, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So-
And I mean, that's nothing groundbreaking. I'm sure you guys are sitting there going, yeah, it's where have you been for the past? But sometimes we get so focused, especially some of these companies out there that are very, very P&L driven only. We know it, right? I get it. It's important, but that's the sole focus. Therefore, the frontline managers lose all sight of everything else,
Right.
me included before, right? And we just focus, say, on our salesperson as a sales rep. And the only value that person gives you or brings to the table is them as a salesperson. And I think it's completely wrong now.
You know, one thing to piggyback off of that, and I wrote down a reminder that, so one thing that I'm focusing on too, along with these videos, is we're going to start leadership classes. And what is leadership, right? It's being a good human being, first of all. So I'm really taking the team and trying to empower the team, you know, keep that best place to work. But if somebody's got a good trait, leadership or a good trait, we want to put them on camera and allow the team to share that. And then we're going to put it in a library that our entire team can have access to. So to Brian's point, right? How do we keep developing people and help them grow to be what they truly want to be? Because it's important. The other thing that I wrote down too is, I was going to do this before a previous business, is I want to bring in a financial planner or a person for the people, because people make good money in our business and they don't know what the heck to do with it. And so that's one of my goals. You know, we run an EOS model, and we're about to have our quarterly meeting, our year end, going into the new year. And that's going to be one of the rocks that I want to do, is really get these leadership videos going and empower people. So,
You know, and you already work with Mike Ruzick. You know, he's great at that, you know, so you've already got somebody on your team, right?
Yep.
That's great. Good for you. Really smart.
Yeah. So that was my, you know, and again, that's probably been talked about before. And Brian, I think I told you this probably, maybe Chris, before 2 years ago or longer. I think I remember, you know, asking my father randomly, I'm like, why in the heck did you join the Marine Corps? Like he didn't, you know, during Vietnam, he wasn't drafted. He enlisted. So that's it. And he's like, I just didn't know what I wanted to do, really, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, the Marine Corps kind of helped me find my purpose. And I was like, So I think about that now, and I think about the world that we live in, where maybe kids aren't exactly, I say kids, young up and coming adults, whatever, aren't exactly, probably rightfully so, ready to jump into the military just because of it's changed, you know. Why can't we be that for those people?
Look, man, you can get me very excited about that concept. I would, if people would ask me what was really the secret to building a business, I would say, and Kyle and Chris, you were right there for the ride. In many ways, it was the House of Misfits. It really was. But yet we all aligned around a common purpose and a common belief, and there was an opportunity for everybody to really grow. And I think it's one of the reasons why, you know, it's interesting. We just simply never had a turnover problem. We didn't have a turnover problem. It wasn't even something we even tracked. It just was insignificant in the business, especially at the management, you know, at any other than maybe like a canvasser or something like that. Beyond that, it really was insignificant. But you're right. You know, you can, how do you create more than, how do you create a club, right? How do you create a club?
So let me ask you a question about the old company. Like you're saying, do you think that stemmed also from you didn't let them in?
I think it's both, right? I think it's both. And also the Tundraland dating app that we created was really, no, I needed to do that. I should have created a Tundraland dating. Come get a job, meet the person of your dreams, get married.
Oh my God.
I want to build an apartment building next to you. You can rent an apartment from me.
That's not a club, Brian. That's a cult. And we're going to be on 2020 after this one. No, but I think, I was always shocked by that with my father. He's like, I'm like, what the hell made you do that? And he's like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really have, you know,
Yeah.
Didn't have a purpose. And then obviously one of the things that's really cool in my research on it is the Marine Corps is the only one that doesn't offer signing bonuses. Like they have to select you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was asking about the selection process, because you don't want to let somebody into your club that's going to disrupt any of that or not buy in.
Look, well, I'll tell you, Mr. Kyle Sellers was the master at taking not just the sales rep out to dinner when we're trying to hire somebody, but also their significant other, and take them both out to dinner, talk about the culture, talk about why you believe in them. Maybe you could talk about that, right? And how important was that in the process?
You know, Joe, you asked the question. Yeah, I mean, it was super important because they were. Well, I just look back to my experience, and I mean, there was times when I wanted to leave. I mean, there was times when I wanted to throw in the towel, or times when the grass might look greener somewhere else, or you're just stressed out, right? But my wife was not just my wife. She was a teammate. She was a partner in the business, and she was from day one. So, and I got the honor to be able to do that. And when people would join the Thunderland organization, I mean, oftentimes, we were a business that was growing and it was somewhat disorganized and we were going somewhere. And because of that, there's a level of chaos that goes with it. So, to have the people that support you the most, which is your family, knowing and being part of your team, your personal team was super important. Joe, you asked the question, well, did we bring in the right type of people? You didn't necessarily phrase it that way. Yeah, I mean, yes, we certainly hired for culture, but I was just pondering that, and I could go back and watch the video because my eyes were probably moving. But what it really was and Chris, I am super proud of you. It's creating the right opportunity for people to be able to grow, and at the same time, providing them an environment that is encouraging it. So it's opportunity with encouragement that goes along with it. Because where my mind really went on the people is there's a lot of people that could have been successful. They might be successful somewhere else. And I mean, they're not one of the 30 that started a business or the 30 that got married or the other 35, that went on to be great managers, leaders, whatever, right? I mean, there were a lot of highly talented people that didn't thrive there or that they didn't choose to thrive there, which is completely fine. But we did, Chris, it's cool that you're setting it up from the beginning because it was special to be part of leadership. We were given the opportunity and we encouraged each other to grow together, and there was that level of commitment, right? Because you didn't want to be the weak link in the team, maybe.
It's enough pressure in itself if it's a high performing culture.
Right.
We worked hard. Hopefully it's a fair transition. So I was going to ask you guys, what do you think is something we've got away from as an industry or that you see from, say, 15 years ago that we need to get back to? And I was going to start off around this is because, and my question really, aside from that, for you guys to answer is, when you were doing Thunderland in the early days, I would venture to say you didn't have a big recruiting team, meaning most of the people coming into the business were referrals from other employees or.
Yeah.
Potentially,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
So I think what I'm getting at is, for me, the big thing that I think we've lost sight of, or I see with some businesses, including the ones I've been involved in ever more recently. Obviously, we want to grow. We want to add bodies, especially if the leads are plentiful. But when I started I was a referral into this business. Everybody that came in from a sales side, everybody that came in as a rep was back in the day. Heck, I think we had one kind of part-time HR/recruiter, but everything was a referral versus relying so heavily on a recruiting team that just doesn't bring the right person into the frame always.
Yeah. Or they're being compensated the wrong way, right? It's, putting butts in seats versus, hiring for culture and those sort of things.
But with that question, that was my answer to it. But is there anything you see like, oh man, we used to do this 20 years ago. We've lost sight of it now because of other things that, maybe you're going to look at doing going forward?
I think and again, having been exposed to corporate structures, as we both know, it's Zoom and that kind of stuff is handy and it's a nice tool. But what tends to happen is that organizations invite so many freaking people to so many freaking meetings that they don't need to be a part of, and it's such a giant waste of time. And the other thing that happens, so you end up showing up it's the same people in the same meetings over and over again talking about, and because the meetings are back to back to back to back, nobody has actually any time to get anything done. Combined with that is, look, if we're having a face-to-face meeting, if we're all sitting around, we're talking about brainstorming something, and there are maybe 8 or 9 of us in a room, maybe 3 people go off and riff on the idea in another room and they take it to a whole nother level. That just simply doesn't happen in a Zoom meeting setting. And I think I think it's a problem. I think it stifles creativity and just is a giant freaking waste of time most of the time.
That's an enormous problem.
Right? I mean, it really is.
That is bad.
Well, Kyle said it, Kyle and Brian and I in good old Appleton, we go down to the Appleton Cigar Lounge and we talk at that poker table in the back of that little shop. We talked so much and created so many different things out of that room. To your point, Brian, that's where I'm excited about where I'm at right now, is because right before I jumped on this, I had my leadership team in here, right? We're wrestling around different ideas, and we debate them. It's the 5 dysfunctions of a team. If you haven't read the book and you're in leadership, you need to read that book. But it's a debate. It's not I'm right, you're wrong. It's okay, what is the solution and how do we pivot and how do we make it better? And I feel a lot of people aren't doing that anymore.
Yeah, and to your point, okay. So we've designed, and Paul was a big part of it too, where we would design org charts at cigar tables and marketing campaigns and write TV campaigns. And then every once in a while we would invite somebody else in to the cigar table. It was like a big deal to be at that poker table. It's not a big deal. Oh wow, I'm invited to a Zoom. Woohoo! It's a big freaking deal. And that's the other cool thing about it. It creates, again, another type of culture that people really feel like they're part of something much better, and then they want to be all in on that.
I love when we start to get Brian wound up. He goes, "Hey, guys, let's." He starts doing this, and then we're like, "He's on, baby. He is on." Started him up. I think Chris, we were talking about here, it started originally with email, which still needs to get, almost trained these days, where it's like, hey, stop putting everybody in the 2 line. But now that's another topic. But then it's also because nothing gets done on that email because you send it to 17 people and no one knows who it's directed to. And then the other one, the Zoom.
Yeah, right.
And then there'll be people from the outside looking in at you guys sitting around a cigar lounge going, are they even getting anything done? And yeah, right. Actually they are.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's how Paul got Michigan to win the national championship. I mean, he developed the whole cheating scam, if I'm not mistaken, at that table. Anyway, for another day. Anything else?
Paul, if you're listening to this, buddy, I love you, and Happy New Year to you, brother. Miss you, man.
Right? I'm waiting for that text in about 10 minutes. Anything else from back in the day that you see that needs to, kind of come back to the forefront? I mean, I'd like to say we're through the virus and everything. I mean, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but you get my point. Is we're clearly like, okay, here's 2025. There's nothing really in our way. Election's over.
I got one.
I got another thing. And if this is so counterintuitive to everything the industry believes, okay? The industry believes that, you don't want your sales reps working home shows because they're going to overqualify the lead, right? And you know what I think? I think that's a bunch of freaking malarkey. I think that you need your sales reps to understand how much of a challenge it is to generate a lead so that they value when they run the lead. And I think if it's done properly, it could be, to me, I think every sales rep should have to rotate some portion of their time to stand in a home show next to all the marketers to see what it goes through to set a lead when the homeowner says everybody's going to be there and you show up and then only one person is there. The marketer wasn't lying. This is just how stuff goes. And I think it's really important. And I think this is the fundamental that the industry has gotten wrong, in my opinion.
I got to say, I'm more typically the way you're saying. I'm probably against, or thinking, hey, the minute they give me any sign that they're not buying today, or, I'm not setting the lead. Call us when you're ready. I'd be guilty of it. But if you train, I mean, I think it's a good. We used to have to knock doors. We started as canvassers in the company I started in. You had to at least knock doors your first week with them to see what it means to set a lead and get thrown off a front porch.
Look, this business has so many silos, and one silo can be between marketing and sales, right? And there's no better way to break down a silo than you get a sales guy that isn't running leads that day and helps set up a home show booth, and maybe another one that pops in for a couple of hours to follow the script and set leads with everybody else. And that energy of co-producing and sharing and being in the fight with other people, it's invaluable for an organization.
But you want me to go out to a home show and not have a chance to make money that day? Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, let's dive into the biggest topic, I think, or the most one that's on the forefront. Chris, you already kind of mentioned it. AI. What are you doing with it? How are you using it? If you can speak to it, what are your thoughts on any of it? We know Brian wrote his book with it, but aside from that, just kidding. Just kidding. Hey, Kyle, what are your thoughts?
It's a beautiful technology. My thoughts in general is that we're on a shift, that we're shifting to a little bit of a different age. It's much like when the internet came out. Truly, Joe, I'm a little scared of where I am at personally. I feel like I'm further behind the learning curve on it than I would like to be. I mean, I don't know if that's the right answer, but here I'm 42 years old and I feel like, I'm having a hard time getting my bearings completely around, what does it all mean and what can I do with it and how do I use it and what does it mean for the industry, Joe? So I'll leave it there.
So
that was zero help.
So we just did a sales training class, Joe, and literally one of my guys practiced with an AI bot.
Yeah.
Literally did a full presentation with an AI bot on his phone. And I was like, you did what? Again, Kyle, I'm like, there's so much to learn about it, right? And he's like, let me show you.
I'm feeling like my parents from 20 years ago, man.
He's asking me questions and I was just blown away. Like, is this really happening? He's literally having a conversation. He named it, right? He named it and said, hey, Alan, if I ask this question, how could I ask a better open-ended question? And it gave a great answer. And I'm like, what the crap? And then on top of it, now we're using Zero, and what a tool. What a tool. Like
Scary.
my guys are diving in. They're listening to the other reps, and when they close and when they don't close, you could just type in there, why did this rep not sell? And it just gives a list and it gives the spots and you go listen to it. And it's blowing my mind.
Well, also when you think about harvesting other information, like how many times have you in the home when you worked for me selling something, did the homeowner mention some of the product that they might want to do one day in their home, right? It happens all the time, right? And but nothing happens with that data. It doesn't get harvested for maybe a future product that you want to take on. Zero, Rilla, I mean, those things, can really do a great job at harvesting some of that information. I think it's great. And, I think it's cool. What's so interesting if you really play with it is it's all about the prompts. If you can really be very clear on what you want through prompts and who the AI bot is, what their role is, the better the response is really significant. And look, as you start to be able to train your own AI assistants and such, I think it's fantastic, man. I think it's great.
Yeah, we've had policies, right, and wanted to clean it up and just upload it and said clean it up, and it's like it makes it simple.
Yeah.
So
I'm super excited about what just all the different versions of it, and what the things that are going to be possible, and what it'll mean for how business and how communication is done, like in the future. There will be certain surprises, both good and bad, like whatever. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can only speak to the Zero for the in-home stuff. That's what we've implemented here, like Chris. And I think AI in general, when you like look at chat GPTs, I think the knowledge, it's just almost like being a salesperson in the home. It's not the answer that's most important. It's whatever prompt or whatever question you ask it. Because the data you can get from Zero when you do that is scary.
Yeah.
I mean, so think about it. A lot of times we have a top rep. Say he or she's the best rep in your office, and I'm the sales manager, and I'm like, okay, and naturally we can just, hey, let that guy just go hunt, whatever, right? Well, now you actually have, I think, that level 3 or 401 coaching. If you ever really wanted to dig deep, you can sit there and go, hey, Zero will tell you the majority, 90% of your appointments close when it's between 120 and 150 words per minute. You're at 180. May or may not work, but it may get you one more deal. So now you have a top rep who's probably never been told anything other than, great job, buddy. Thanks for letting me do my one ride along I had to get done for Joe this week with you. Yeah. I shouldn't categorize that, but that's probably what happens. I was a manager. I did it. So now you have things that you're like, we're never picking up. Could you imagine sitting there with a stopwatch going, 151? Shit. There's things. And then the other thing that I'll take it, Brian, your favorite thing that you taught me, what do you always say about people and process? Separate the person from the process. Zero, you can do that.
Right. You
can say, look, that's the cool part about it. Zero will give you feedback. And even if you think I don't like you as your manager, who can use that? They don't know you.
So for the sales trainers out there, it is probably the biggest disruptor. Reason being is every organization has their 2 or 3 superstars. You don't want any new reps riding with the superstars because they do their own thing and you can't copy it. Here, you run this model. This is what we teach. We don't teach what the superstars do. That's very different. Well, who says? Why can't we? Why can't we harvest that data? Why can't we replicate what the superstars do out there? And why can't that be our new sales model? So it's very much a disruptor if used properly.
It's I stay up all hours of the night with that program, right? Thanks to Joe Jordan, I'm sitting there staring at scorecards and I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, but I will tell you that and Chris, you probably already know this. You're smart. You figured it out. You got to be careful not to overcoach, because if you do ask it to give you feedback on an appointment, it's going to give you 5 or 6 things. And next thing you know, you got a rep who's going into his next appointment, his or her next appointment, and they're thinking about all 5. And you're like, whoa, hold on, slow down. And then I'll add one more benefit. If you're a new sales manager and you're not quite sure how to coach somebody on an appointment, use that resource. Learn from what it says in the data. Like whatever Zero says, hey, he should do, and learn and see if that matches up to what you thought.
Yeah, because how often do people give the wrong advice? Yeah, that's a good point.
But you know what I mean? If I'm a new sales manager and I don't quite know how to, because I think one of the biggest hiccups new sales managers make is they try to clone themselves, and you can't. You have to learn how to get all of your reps to be themselves within your model. They cannot be you. You cannot make 20 little versions of Chris Herman that's running around.
That would be cute, though.
Yeah, true. Valid point. All right. So last question, because I don't want to hold you guys up from getting your night on. 2025. What do you think? What's your projections? Big year? What do you think is going to happen in the industry? What do you, Brian? This is really kind of directed towards you. I mean, everybody can talk about it, but you have your ear to the ground.
Yeah.
What do you think? Where's the opportunities? Where do they lie?
Well, the first thing is, like every year, winners are going to win, and everybody else is probably in trouble. And look, I think an organization needs to focus on operational excellence. And what does it mean? It's not, I think companies tend to start with what's our process? We need written processes. And that's all great, but you first have to understand, what are your disciplines? What are your disciplines as a business? Like, as an example, the lead is sacred. There's a discipline. Okay, now what processes do we need to ensure that the lead is treated as if it's sacred? Or a discipline is customers pay when we're finished all the time. What processes do we need so that the customer's paying when we're finished all the time? I think too many companies skip over the discipline and jump right into the process, and often can write themselves a process in the wrong direction. And so I think, but look, according to the Joint Center for Housing Studies, the home improvement is supposed to see about a 1.2% increase in 2025. What I'll promise you is there'll be some companies that are going to be up 40% and some companies that are going to be down 40%. And that's what's going to happen. And you got to decide which bucket you're going to be in. And, and are you hanging out with other like-minded people that are bringing you up? Are you joining mastermind groups? Are you getting your team, stop keeping them in a silo and in a bubble, and getting them into other groups and getting them to learn from others and become better people? And if you do that, you're going to be one of the winners.
Shit. What else?
I just, so to that, I had the opportunity to do an interview with one of the magazines out there. I don't know if they're going to publish it or not, so I'm not going to say who it is. But they interviewed a couple other leaders in the industry in the home improvement space, and he said I was the most optimistic one. But do you know why that is? Because I believe I can achieve, and I will. And I don't say that with cockiness. I say that with what Brian has taught us. Is it's the discipline. We're a very disciplined business, and I believe this year is going to be a better year than last year because we're going to win. We're going to win by taking care of our people first and foremost. We're going to train them to be an entrepreneur inside of this business. I'm going to coach them to be a better version of themselves. And if we do that, they're going to want to go out there and fight for the customer, not with the customer. And that's how we're going to win.
I like it. Within that is a bunch of hard work. That's why it's not arrogance. You're going to put the effort in and do the things that you need to do day in and day out to do that, I assume.
Yeah. Winners win, right? Yeah. My results in 24 are very much in line with the actions in 24. My results in 23 are very much in line with my actions in 2023. And I'm quite confident that in this coming year that my results will be very much aligned with the effort that I put forth. And that gives me, that gives me a lot of optimism because I'm planning on having a great year. As far as a prediction for the industry, Joe, I don't know that I necessarily have a prediction for the industry, although I do know that, there are certain like customer sentiments that are shifting. It's more of a wish and a request. It is my wish that we continue to grow as an industry to give customers a better experience. Customers have questions, and they have questions that they need answers to, and they have fears and they have concerns. And, the better job that we can do of just helping address those and be forthcoming with them and being honest, I love this industry, and I love the people in it, both the sales rep, the sales managers, the owners, the customers, the installers, the marketers, like everything about it. And I'm just give them all a better experience. Let's go win.
What's yours, Joe?
I'm hoping something blows it up, like something completely innovative. I think all the AI stuff is. I mean, I think that's key. I think, I believe like anything, if you use it or implement it, it's all great. Obviously, if you don't, you won't really make any change. I'm with Kyle. I mean, which brings me maybe to another point is how do we get, especially salespeople you bring into the business, and maybe it happens over time, but how do you teach them to fall in love with the game?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus just being a job or a hustle or and that's, you get my point there. Like, it's not like, take it seriously. You can make life-changing money. I mean, if that's, which usually is maybe an initial external driver, right? But you can also then grow and develop these businesses are insanely huge.
So it's interesting you say that because the industry typically says, hey, it's our leads and you need to take good care of them and you need this sort of closing average, which is it's very me centric, right? But if you think about the sales rep that's out there grinding it out every freaking day, driving all over the freaking state that they're working in, sitting down at 6 o'clock at night, missing dinner with their family, talking to people that are freaking out of their mind, right? And but they have to think of what they do as a business, and if they think of their business as a business, and how can they run the most effective business, and teaching them what it means to be a profitable business, and where the business loses money as a sales rep. I think if we can instill that mentality in reps, I think it's only going to pay massive dividends.
We've talked about that at a high level before, but I think you're onto something big there. I think it includes, and it starts obviously the All Blacks, aside from Brian's book, my second favorite book ever, Legacy, better people make better All Blacks. I think it starts from who you bring into the business. If the person, it's hard to obviously weed that out maybe all the times, but get the right behaviors to get at least the right values aligned that they want to come in, they want to learn. Yeah. Versus just collect a commission, a check, what have you.
Yeah. Well, Joe, that goes back to, the referrals. How do we refer more people to the business of like-minded? And Brian said, surround yourself with those people. Like, it seems like people are getting more and more, on their own type of stuff. And how do we get back to that? You know what I mean? Like, how do we get into those circle of influences and bring in those people?
I got to tell you a quick story, real quick, because I know we all got to get our night on. So Chris Hermes and Kyle Sellers know this name, and anybody in Wisconsin knows the name of Bergstrom Automotive, right? So years and years ago, when I won some like new business award, I got a little trophy that was like this big, and we had just a brand new company. And the founder of the business, John Bergstrom, reached out to me and he says, "Hey man, I'd love to take you out to lunch." And he took me to lunch, and there were probably like 15 employees at the time. We were very, very small. And he's sitting across from the table and he says, "What do you think the secret to business is?" And I said, "It's all about lead generation." And he said to me, "It's all about relationships." He said, "It's all about relationships." And it took me a lot of years to truly understand what that meant. I've heard that line before, but I didn't really, really understand it. And business is about relationships. And how do you, the sales rep is often on their own in their car by themselves. And how do you, like Chris was saying, how do you make sure that they understand it's about relationships, but also create an environment where they can actually live in that?
That goes back to what I said. My big aha this past year was got to get better at, about leading the whole person.
It's what your Facebook group does, Joe. It's what your Facebook, you've created a camp. You've created a place where people can have relationships with others. And it's really cool. And I commend you for that, man. And happy freaking New Year.
Yeah,
same to all of you. Any parting words, Mr. Hermes?
We talk about surrounding ourselves with people, and I get the opportunity to have you three gentlemen in my life that help me be a better version of myself and hold me accountable and slap me in the face when I need it every once in a while. And I just want to say, hey, thank you for having my back in 2024. And I appreciate y'all very much.
Big freaking ditto, man. Love you guys.
Kyle, real quick.
I love all you guys, including those of you out there in Facebook land, the in-home sales professionals. I love you all. Happy 2025.
There are, by the way, a lot of comments. I don't know if you guys can see them or not, but
no, because I'm inside of StreamYard. I don't have the Facebook thing up.
Oh, well, no, I know, but I thought anyway. Make sure Brian is probably more directed some of them towards Brian. You probably want to check those out if you can, because we didn't address them all. But same here. You guys, even though you left me hanging out to dry, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, I'm grateful and glad that you guys were willing to take some time out of your day, especially a few hours here before the new year, to jump on. You guys, like I joked about the check not clearing. I mean, you guys take time out of your day for me to do this, and otherwise I'd be talking to the wall, which I do a majority of the time. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure everybody in the group, based on the comments, it looks like appreciate that. So I'm sure we'll be connecting in the new year.
Here's my comment that I'll leave with everybody. You know, when you truly commit, if you're a sales rep, when you truly commit to helping the customer feel special, when you truly commit to the concept that the lead is sacred, when you truly commit that you're both a teacher and a student at the same time with those that are around you, that are in your company and outside of your company, as you truly commit to all of these sort of things, over time, your wildest dreams start to feel more like your destiny. You know, don't be half in, be freaking all in, and I promise it'll pay off.
So I love Matthew McConaughey's, when he told his dad he wanted to become an actor, and he thought his dad was going to flip out about it, not finishing college or whatever it was. And his dad finally just turns around and looks at him and says, "Don't half-ass it." I mean, you're going to spend the time of the day. Might as well just go all in with what you're giving to it. So that's 100%. Good wise wisdom, Mr. Gottlieb. Thank you, guys.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Love you guys.